Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and a new video on the Mark 1 Golf GTI. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. We're going to be doing plenty more cars like this in the future. Anything that comes along that is the slightest bit interesting, me and Chris will be doing our best to get that car and get it on the channel. It has thawed out now. It's been left about 24 hours and it's still got some snow on it, but the majority of it has melted off, so I thought we'd have a little quick walk around before we get cracking with the video in hand. It has got quite a lot of little surface rust areas on it. We're not going to see it beautiful until it's cleaned up. Quite a lot of people said what it should have and it shouldn't have, and genuinely, we don't know. Someone said this would have been a treble white car, so white with white trim and a white roof. It does have a black roof. It doesn't look bad, but that is something that we don't know how far we're going to go with this car, but if we do go quite far with it, the roof is going to need replacing or repairing. It feels like the rip is this side of the roof, so we may get away, you can see it stitched there, with just having that new section put in there, which would be lovely. Again, it does feel like, let's just have a look, eh? Yeah, it's actually, you can see it's had a patch put on it, and it's right on that seam, so we will get away with having a new section put in there, which is fantastic news because I didn't know that. Again, it's got some little bits around it. Fuel filler neck. Thank you everybody that reached out and said they rot out and that's where you should start, and that is where we're going to start today. You can't really see a great deal because we are in the workshop. This trim we do have, it's inside, but you can see now there is some rust coming up in little parts of the arch on this side. And again, until it's cleaned up, we're not going to know what it does need exactly. So we're going to crack on, take the plugs out, oil up the barrels, go through the fuel system, etc, etc. We want to get to the bottom of it and try and get it running in this video. That would be amazing because that's the most important bit for us, getting it running, and of course, will it run for you guys? So let's crack on and get that done. So I was just making a few checks there, disconnected the fuel filter there, run a bit of pipe in it, and I don't know how well it would have come out on time lapse, but I tried to show. The fuel is a little bit mucky and it doesn't smell too pleasant, so it's going to need some fuel in it. And after turning the key a couple of times and hearing the fuel pump run, that was as much fuel as actually we could get out of it. So we think that it's probably running really low on fuel as well. Chris removed all the spark plugs and of course got his little pump there, there's the plugs. He's given that a squirt. It's 50-50 mix of oil and diesel. So we're just lubricating all the bores. We're going to turn it over by hand. Just make sure that the cylinders are all nice and clean before we try and start it. Chris has just gone out into the other room to look for a nice new set of spark plugs. Give it half a chance. And while he's doing that, I'm just about to whip the cam belt cover off. Eventually, depending how far we go, of course, we'll be doing a cam belt on it. But for now, we do want to run this, but we don't want to run it if all the wires showing on that cam belt. So I'm going to whip that cover off and check that that's okay, just to spin it over to get it fired up. Cam belt covers off. I'm just going to bring the torch over, and as you can see, Let's get really close. It's got a scratch through it there, but the belt looks good enough to start the car. And when you look inside there, you can see there's no cracks, none of the cords or anything. But that tensioner doesn't look, it looks really, really good. So I would think that not long after this was, sorry, not long before this was parked up, I would say that it's probably had a cam belt kit on it at some point. So again, don't know how far we're going to go with it, but eventually, as far as we do go, we will, if we go all the way, we will be putting a new belt, water pump on it, new full service, you know, the whole caboodle. So we are just letting that soak in now. I've got to whip off to MOT. Chris has found 4 nice new plugs ready to go in it. We want to let that soak in as long as possible and then move on to the hand crank. So I'm going to go off, do the MOT, leave that. Next time we come back, we'll be pumping it out. I'll make it quick because Chris is down there on the floor, but he's spun it over a few times now. And as you can see, it's moving very freely. So I think we're confident to spin the key, get the rest of that out there. We'll have to put a rag over it, but you see it just fitting out there. We'll get that all spun out and then we'll probably get those new plugs fitted. I've just been out the garage, got 2 gallon of petrol. Don't worry, that is not 2-stroke. That's one of Chris's cans for his chainsaw. It was empty. So we've got 2 gallon of petrol. I'm going to put that in the tank and I'm going to keep priming this through just to make sure that we've got no crud coming in from in the tank. I said to Chris, while I'm chucking the fuel in, he can chuck the plugs in. Go back on that little bit of time lapse. If you missed it, slow it down. That spat out everywhere. It literally covered the floor. You can see how far back it went, and Chris ended up with it all over him. We got quite a bit of compression there, but regardless of compression, Chris just said, Rob, we've got it in the drawer, let's do a compression test on it. And I know a lot of you enjoyed it when I did it on the Mini, so we're going to go start at number 1, 2, 3, 4, do a compression test, then get the plugs in. So luckily for us today, I can actually stand here and hold it because Chris is back, and you can get a prop, you can see it as I'm seeing it. Ready when you are, mate. Yep. Well, that's certainly a lot better than that Mini. That's bar around the outside, Chris, is it? Or PS? What we got?
Yeah, that's
nearly 200. 250.
Nearly 250 PSI.
So we stick that now in number 2. So now in cylinder number 2. Go on, mate. Yep. So there we've got 260. So
the bit of oil will enhance.
Yeah, of course it will, yeah. So we're now going to move on to number 3. Now in cylinder number 3. Go on, mate. Yep. So we've got 250 again, almost there. So there is a little bit of difference in them, but like Chris said, we have got lubricant in the barrel, so that is going to make a little bit of difference. We'll move on to the last one. Looking good so far, and now we're in cylinder number 4. Ready when you are, Chris. Yep. So that's a little bit lower than the others. That's 210. So a little bit of difference there, but Chris just said you've got to expect it. We've had oil and diesel mix in the cylinders, so let's move on and get them spark plugs fitted. So the fuel pump itself is quite noisy. It's making quite a strange noise, to be honest. It more sounds like it's, I'd say, would you say it sounds a lot more like it's blowing than it's dry. Yeah, Chris thinks it's quite dry, but I've just whipped the fuel filter off, and this is just what I've shook out of the fuel filter. I mean, I said to Chris, it looks like tea. He said, no, cider. And I would have to agree. It's not very nice. So we're turning the ignition, and it's priming, and you can see I've removed the filter, and it's actually nothing coming out of there at all. There was fuel in this filter, but it's that fuel that I've tipped in the cups. It's very stale. We haven't got smell-o-vision, so you're not going to be able to smell it, but it's not very pleasant. So I've just jacked the car up, and I've got some axle stands under there. I'm going to go under there, find that fuel pump, and actually disconnect the line from it. I think we're going to blow out the line, Chris, aren't we? See if it's not collapsed, and just go from there, really. Just keep picking away at it until we can find the issue. But there's definitely something wrong with that fuel pump or one of the fuel lines. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to film it because I'm quite low down there and I need to get underneath. We've got this little lead that Chris cut off for something quite a while ago, and he's put two connectors on the end. This is the fuel pump off the car. So actually, Chris, yeah, you can run that. You can see the fuel pumping out there, guys. We did prime it up. So there is nothing wrong with this fuel pump. But I did notice, as soon as I plonked it in the fuel and Chris plugged it in and started running it, Chris said, that sounds better. It was actually quite starving of fuel. I've got underneath, I've blown, there's like another filter under there that's going to need changing, but I've blown it all the way through the whole system. Chris has had a cup on this end, and we've completely blown out that line. So we're happy with the underneath inline filter and the fuel line coming to the car are now fine. But because everything's stripped out underneath, I've been able to blow the air line up the main fuel feed from the tank, and that is quite blocked. So that's the bit we're going to concentrate on now. I've just waited for the compressor to build up, and I'm going to have to blow that out. So there's a good chance, well, we are going to have to eventually get that tank out and give it a good clean out. All that messing around, I was blowing down the main pipe and nothing was happening. There was no fuel coming out of it. Chris said, that's not right, give us the airline. And he blew it down the tank and it all come pouring out. That's when I let it flow for a minute. I chucked the fuel pump back in there to stop it. And we've just connected that back up now. Go ahead, mate. And we've got fuel all the way to the filter housing. It is still a little bit mucky. We are going to have that tank out at some point, but that's good enough for a minute. Now we've got spark, good compression, we've got fuel. I think we've got everything we need. We just need to put this filter back together and we're going to flick that key. We've got the door open. We've got fuel all the way to the filter under the bonnet. We know that it's good. It's got a good spark. It's got a new set of plugs. We've checked everything. We are ready for that all important, will it run? Go for it, Chris. No, that's too easy. Are you joking me? That was too easy. No? No, tiny. That's me, that is.
Oh, that's a pedal bend.
The pedals bend?
Yeah.
I can rev it up from here.
Oh, that's better. The pedal's actually frozen.
That's it, you've got a lot more now. Give it a little rev, let's hear it run. I can't get excited yet, it's not running all. Guys, we'll have a little play and then I'll cut back in. I didn't want to keep cutting in and out there, guys. As you can see, it's running, but it does run on all four when it first starts up. I don't know if you can hear this in the background. That fuel pump has had it. It's making way too much noise. As soon as you go to touch the accelerator and give it, obviously it's going to need more fuel. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, I'd run on 4 then. Definitely a fueling issue, and that fuel pump. Yeah? Again, we'll have another little look into this. Chris will have a look at it. Chris is having a little play with the time in there, just checking through a few things. He's got it revving up and running better, but he's still misfiring. Don't worry about all this smoke, guys. It is just excess of all that diesel oil mix we put in it earlier. The leads we think could be breaking up on it as well. But she's a runner. That's 4 cylinders, isn't it? It does seem to be clearing the more we run it. Don't forget all that diesel and oil we got to burn off as well. It's actually the next day now, guys, and as you can see, I've just prepared it all, jacked it back up, got it a lot higher than we did yesterday. Got the axle stands under there, both of them. And I'm just, now it's running, I'm going to go round, and we've decided this morning we are going to go a bit further into this, a bit deeper. We have bought a cam belt kit. We're not going to concentrate on that just yet. We want to concentrate on getting this running properly. Now, when you initially first turn the key, I'm going to do it now on camera. You will hear it fires up, runs perfect on 4 cylinders. So here we go. Well, if the start motor cuts in. So perfect on 4 cylinders. But as soon as you try and rev it, or it runs a little bit longer, because once it's warmed up, it does tick over. It misses and farts about. We are convinced it is a fueling issue. Chris had a little play with the timing, and it didn't really make a lot of difference. So I've pulled the pin. We've ordered the cam belt kit, oil, filter, air filter, and most importantly, we've ordered a brand new fuel pump for it. So I'm going to head round there, get all that picked up, because we really want to get this running perfect. So I'll pop round to Cat Components. I've got the fuel filter, oil filter, cam belt kit, and oil, but they didn't have the fuel pump. Now, they said that they can get the fuel pump in for me, but it wouldn't be until 2 o'clock this afternoon. Of course, we want to get this video finished and get it done. So I've just popped round to GSF and got the fuel pump, and it actually worked out £30 cheaper. So that did pay anyway. Let's get back to the yard and get that lot fitted. I've been in and out, obviously, all morning and yesterday. They said that today there was going to be a light dusting of snow, and that was it. I've just gone out, I've been gone 20 minutes, I've come back, and every track that was in the path has gone. When I left, the van was parked here. That's how much it's coming down in the last couple of minutes. Unbelievable. Does look pretty though. So Chris just whipped off that old fuel pump. It's literally an 8mm this end, 7mm that end, and then a 19mm bolt and just a pipe with a Jubilee. I didn't want to put any more time lapse in the video, guys. There's quite a bit in there, and as you can see, that new fuel pump up there is all fitted, and we've got the tray underneath, bit of hose there, because we may possibly have to use a can of petrol rather than the tank. So finally, guys, a lot of messing around. It still needs a good service. Chris has got it running sweet as a nut on all 4 cylinders with that new fuel pump. So we're going to shut it off now, and we're going to move on Sounds good, mate. And we're going to move on. So little bit of work there, but exactly what we love. And I do hope that everybody enjoyed us getting that running. I missed that yeehaw moment when it first started up because I said to Chris, that was too easy. That started straight up, but it did quickly come to an abrupt end. So we've got that new fuel pump fitted on there. We've got it running on 4 cylinders. We're quite happy now that it's running. Again, like I said, it is going to need a real good service. But we've now got everything ready to go. We're not going to be fitting... You know, I could have got on today, we could have got on and done the service on this. Cam belt, plugs. Sorry, we've already done the plugs. Cam belt, oil, filter, air filter, diesel filter. But we have, you know, we've said from the start of this video, we are going to be draining that tank out. There is an access point underneath the seat there. So we'll probably whip that out, have a good look inside, see how bad it is. If the tank's got to come out, it's got to come out. It's no drama for us at all. But it is all running. Did notice now the snow's thawed out. It's got a nasty break in the windscreen there we're going to have to do. We folded that roof back last night before we left and it's dried everything out inside. There was a bit of moisture in there. So far, so good. And loving the following on this car. So glad we brought it because so many of you in the comments said that you love the car, it's your dream car, you can't wait to see the series on it. And to be honest, I can't wait to continue on and us to do more videos on it and ultimately get it cleaned up. We're really excited to see what it does come up like, get that other trim on it, etc. So I thought I'd do it a little bit different today and actually stand up in front of the camera and finish the video because I've been sitting down most of the day while Chris has been doing all the work. Guys, that is going to be the end of the video. But just before we do go today, I reached out to Lee, the trim man, last night and said, what is the chances of you getting this material for this bolster? And he sent me back a message instantly saying, your chances are very good. And he sent me a picture of a seat that he's just done. And I'm going to include that now. So that's fantastic news. He's going to be ordering the material for that seat. And he said that also that he could possibly... He was quite confident, long as we can get that roof off without causing any damage, any further damage, he can do that repair on it. So I'm not going to tell you where we're going with this car, but I think you can all guess. Guys, if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. Hit that thumbs up, show your appreciation. We really do appreciate it. Like, subscribe and share. Check out the merchandise. The link is in the description and we'll see you later in the week for the next one.